that on. Is that working as well?
Yep.
Hello, lovelies. We are working on queer time, so I'm expecting that people will come in fabulous dopes and caps. But just for the folk watching online, we're going to kick off in a wee bit. We are in a slightly different kind of setting. Welcome to the Bookshop Garden. Because of that, if you want to move around, sit on the floor, lean against a tree, feel free. It also means we have the gorgeous smells and scents of Sen next door, and the lovely people at the mosque have said that they're going to stop their construction work for the hour that we are doing for poetry. But yeah, there will be different sights and sounds, and the floor is very even, so if you need to move your chair around, move yourself around, make yourself comfortable. This is your space for the next 45 minutes. We're also, conscious that people have to run to Fringe shows, so we will not be offended if you get to your 30-minute mark and have to dash for the next fabulous thing. But to introduce today's event, I have the wonderful Tristan from Quill. Will you put together your hands to welcome them today to Book Fringe?
Hi everyone, I'm Tristan Gray and I'm one of the co-founders of Quill Scotland. Thanks very much to Lighthouse Books for hosting us today. We organised this event because we know that our community is having a really tough time right now, and in an environment where it seems like all our institutions are rallied against us, we think it's really important to organise events where we can be together and enjoy each other's company and enjoy each other's creativity in a way that's really positive. But that's not all that Quill Scotland was set up to do. We're also an advocacy organisation. Part of why we exist is the pushback on the fact that so many of our institutions are functionally run by people who want to exclude us. We are quite new. We were set up last year in response to a series of events which resulted in queer and especially trans people seeing their rights being eroded, even in the literature scene. And we see even last week where awards set up for queer people end up becoming trans exclusive. And we need more like this, more events where we can be together and celebrate queerness, transness together in a positive way, but also allowing some space for rage, because all of us are feeling a little bit of it right now, and having a positive way of expressing that, a constructive way of expressing that, is a lot better than just stewing in our bedrooms, seeing the world look really hostile, when we can explore the fact that actually out in the world, away from the news stories, away from the institutions, away from the media coverage, a lot of our society is as queer and trans inclusive as it's ever been. And we can experience that in places like indie bookshops and queer events. So with that in mind, we've asked our readers to come to us with stories that express that rage in a positive way. We call it RIOT, and it's come with the themes of rage, revolution, and renewal, because we want to express the rage but also see the way forwards. At the end of this event, I'm going to be stood over in the corner, and if you have any donations you'd like to give towards our readers, everything that I'll be taking in the corner, whether cash or card, will be split evenly between our readers, because we think it's important that creatives are paid for their work. So if you'd like to help towards that, I'll be in the corner afterwards, whether you're leaving before our Q&A or afterwards. So after we've had our readings, there will be a Q&A at the end for 15 minutes. So if you have any questions for our readers tonight, have a think about it, listen to what they're saying, and line up the questions. Megan, one of the other Quill organisers, will be running that section of the afternoon. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first reader. Sol Vardy. Sol is a writer and a spoken word poet who explores queer and immigrant experiences. Their poetry weaves together political issues, humour, and queer joy, alongside everyday experiences of their life in their acquired home of Edinburgh. Sol.
my poem today is called The Environment was introduced in 2012 under Theresa May's Home Office. Very catchy title. This came after I became a British citizen about 6 months ago, and I have a lot of feelings about that. Mostly rage, so here goes. I truly declare full and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. Were you not born in the UK? From a colleague startled me in the middle of a conversation about the life in the UK test. 10 long years, I sigh, and the passport wasn't free either, I add sneakily, when they move on to Schengen visas. You must really like it here. You must really like it here to wait 10 years, is the empathetic response from another. I stall before answering, wondering how much energy I have for a rant about security, belonging, and the fear of mandatory prescription. Better than an Israeli passport, I shrug. Not today. Did you get all the Scots? He asks, an odd reaction to my compliment. To me, liking the poem enough to talk to another poet. Another pause. Don't look too confused, I think. You will only prove him right. Most of it, I sure hope you would after 10 years. I seem to have passed another test. 10 years, no accents, only hints of altered vowels. Mun, Scottish, but with a not changed enough to scrape Berkshire off my tongue, not enough round the edges of my hard Hebrew consonants, just gently tweaked to amplify the general immigrant sound. I'm sitting on a Zoom call, listening to a British black woman talk about her new fears this July. We have wildly different experiences, but we both fall under D&I. I speak next. The streets of Edinburgh don't feel as safe as they did last summer. And I'm here, too gay for Gorgie, too brown for a bell. The racist sign bolded, now allowed to shout on Main. Being a lefty now includes turning immigrants away. After the call, my team's chat floods with thank you for sharing, and I'm here if you need to talk. No one says the word race riots. I've never had to swear allegiance to anyone, she exclaims, shocked by the ridiculousness of the ceremony as I scroll through pictures from the city chambers. Me holding a certificate, smiling awkwardly, me in a kilt and a sporran, standing when only the English anthem plays, me glancing at a gilded frame picture of the king. I look happy, amused to be dressed up for in and out procedure, relieved that I won't have to apply for yet another 2-year visa. My poker face, trained to stay complacent in the face of immigration officers and I wasn't sure about Brexit debates, still smiles and doesn't betray how uncomfortable I am to be part of a country that would have kicked me out a year ago if my buying papers weren't right. A country that invited me to study here on the basis that I pay for a free healthcare service and not make any plans to stay after graduation. Who is laughing now? A country where my friend once avoided texting me the words weed gummies just in case someone might be reading them. A country whose new blue passport I hold. I'm waiting outside Morningside View after church when a falling volunteer glances in my direction. Oh, I can't vote, I snap defensively when I can continue to loiter like a child waiting for my partner to finish the adult task of democracy. I'll be 34 in the next general election, finally able to use my voice and maybe change the way any of my homes is run, if I'm still here, that is. I will give my loyalty to the United Kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Sol, and thank you to our emergency services for the very ironic soundtrack to that. Our next reader is Nyla Nua. Nyla is a queer South Asian artist whose multidisciplinary practice encompasses storytelling, poetry, painting, clay sculpture, and linocut printing. Their work look through the lens of queerness, intergenerational trauma, and radical healing.
Hi everyone. Just to let you know, I had 2 dentist billings yesterday, so my mouth is slightly numb, but I'm sure it'll be grand. Without the sting, without the chain, without history's endless pain, Without the tide that drags us back, while progress gradually fills in the cracks. If only we could begin again. I truly fear the livid boiling anger in my chest. Fade one word could burn the rest. So I kept quiet, sealed my jaw, and swallowed every racial flaw. Every shove and every name, every smirk that fanned the flame, every gaze that looked away while riots burned the hotels from night to day. A strange experience to my shock, watching rage-fueled immigrant burnings banned on TikTok. So I stayed indoors 4 nights, 4 days, watching the news that pulled me back to partition's hurried pack. My great-grandparents fled, stripped of their land and bare, holding scraps in silent prayer. My grandfather crossed the river's cry at 8 years old. He told me solemnly that 3 bodies swept by. These flames are not new, they smoulder in our veins. Every riot echoes for centuries in chains. The last young Maharaja was sold, from his mother's arms to British control. Maharaja Duleep Singh, a dangerous flame, locked away in Perthshire and denied his name. A British pawn seek royalty's devolution, separated from his mother as they feared he would usher in revolution. He longed for his long-lost mother, Punjab's distant sky, and decorated his empty Highland halls in India's eye. An empire's rotting corpse, still dressed in wealth, its spoils stacked on history's shelf, yet millions of people died or were expelled. They say immigrants drain the land, but British forces, hands still grabbing command. I dreamt one night I was in Gaza's flame, villages collapsing, carpet bombs that came. I screamed, I'm British, it's not my fight, but brown faces were all the pilots saw that night. I woke in sweat, my body whole, yet guilt had hollowed out my soul. Safe in my bed while the innocent bled, I ran to march with my hands outspread. In my youth, I feared being too much, too loud, too raw for the comfort of gentler crowds. But who else will come and fight when injustice hunts the cause my plight? I'll not drown the truth I've known. I march for the blood that paved the stone. I march for ancestors calling clear, their voices commanding us right here. So feel your anger, feel it true, let it surge and pulse and carry you through. For we can't afford to turn away the systems of oppression rely on apathy and decay. All struggles are individual threads in the same intricate travesty, in the sense that all activists are intrinsically linked, just like chosen family. March in the streets in your masses, shout and chant in your advances, stress the importance of unity amongst the classes. I can hope you can appreciate my frankness when it comes to our current circumstances. Only together can we gain reprieve, and when the smoke clears, we'll all have a moment to pause and grieve. But for those before and those to come, the song of justice must be sung. This one is all about chosen family and how incredibly nourishing and important it is to queer people. Dramatic splashes of pink and gold paint the dusk in colours bold, as the heather crowns the shoulders wide of ancient giants dignified. Padding silently across gilded peatland, a lone stag stretches his neck in anticipation of the bleak midwinter. Cycles of uprooted lives have led me here to nature's cradle, bathed in a honeyed light. They follow shadows of my steps, yearning for lives unmarred by control. I grieve the dreams they set aside for others to flourish so long ago. Amongst others like me I find candlelit conversations running deeper to the bone, many come to mind. A past recollected, a future I find. Warm food, warm hands, warm laughter is deeply inscribed in the shared tapestry of intertwined lives. In the inky depths of night, the future calls, her voice unsteady but resonant. Lantern aloft, I walk into the deep, endless dark, tracing my way home, lost in thought. Polaris beams above, a steadfast guide. Orion eternally pursues the Pleiades, sisters turn doves, turn stars, girls lighting the nights in the hopes of futures unmarred. Dancing under moonlight, illuminated by our gossamer glow. She says to me sweetly that my secrets aren't too heavy to hold. My old scars softened, wrapped in the inky cowl, been pricked by pearls of light, pearls to rivulets of tears that someday I may never have to hide. But tonight I lie upon the grass, waiting for the light to break. But for now I breathe and say good night, for the stars burn thrice as bright.
Thank you very much, Nyla. Our next speaker is Jomo Kelly. Jomo is a Malarian and Scottish poet exploring the intersectionality of identity, inequality, and injustice.
Hi. So, does anyone know what the difference between systemic and systematic oppression is? No? Don't worry, me neither. That's why I'm writing and researching a poetry book. It's called Socially Acceptable Prejudice. I've got a few poems from it written so far, but I thought today I'd read you the prologue one. It's called T's and C's. Slight content warning for mentions of suicide. This is just poetry. If you need to take your space, please do. Please forgive me. I didn't realize every birth certificate came with its own terms and conditions. That by existing within the system, I, henceforth known as the user, agreed to be bound by the following terms. Please note, update to these terms may occur at any time without prior notice. System requirements. Maintaining system compatibility requires additional processing power in some user configurations. Users will occasionally have to suppress intense emotions in order to avoid a disproportionate systemic response. Some user groups will be required to hide physical features in order to avoid public scrutiny. The system currently does not possess the capabilities to react to divergence from constructed ideals without activating the hostility protocol in legacy users. Legacy users. Legacy users must be respected up until the point the user gains free will. Legacy users may exhibit unsettled behavior when they perceive disrespect. The system currently does not possess the capabilities to re-educate, rehabilitate, or reduce hostility in legacy users. Complaints from legacy users will take priority in societal support queues. Legacy users will retain political influence, cultural authority, and administrative control regardless of system updates. Users will have to request permissions from their designated legacy users if they wish to make changes to their factory settings. Factory settings. Factory settings are determined at birth and cannot be changed without administrator approval. Factory settings cannot be altered in some instances. These settings will provide permanent limitations for some users. Access to areas may be restricted depending on moderator bias. Factory settings include, but are not limited to, the user's full legal name, preferred pronouns, gender markers, employment eligibility, blood donation eligibility, treatment access, single-sex based access, race. Data mismatches will be treated as user error. The system does not currently possess the capabilities to update its data based on lived experiences. Unauthorized attempts to modify factory settings may be flagged for system violations. Persistent data mismatches can result in the user becoming subject to additional monitoring. Marginalization. Prejudice may be exhibited towards user configurations that differ from the societal norm. Cruelties are only permitted below the level of social uncomfortability. Bigoted views will be portrayed in the media as contested or controversial. They will not be condemned. Hatred will be destigmatized by portraying the abuse of the aforementioned groups as phobias. Systematic oppression will be upheld as protecting traditionalism. Violence will be categorized as individual incidents. The system currently does not possess the capabilities to identify clear and obvious patterns in human behavior. Bystanders may not take action unless a line is crossed. A line is entirely subjective, and its ability to be crossed is dependent on the age, political stance, and sobriety of witnesses. The system currently does not possess the capabilities to define a line between wrong and very wrong. Users experiencing or witnessing acts of marginalization are advised that voicing concerns may be interpreted as disruption. The system does currently possess the capability to punish legacy users found to be engaging in acts of marginalization. The system will not use its capabilities to punish those legacy users. Acts of system disruption will trigger defensive protocols in legacy users. Free speech can and will be utilized against users accused of system disruption. Free speech. All language is acceptable until it isn't. Please note, updates to what is deemed as acceptable language may occur at any time without prior notice. Detection algorithms for unacceptable speech vary based on the user's factory settings. Showcasing support for the oppressed is grounds for persecution under the basis of anti-establishment behavior. Offensive language may be excused under the "it's just a joke" defense. The effectiveness of this defense hinges entirely upon the audience that the aforementioned joke is made to. Punchlines are permissible only if they are A, funny, and B, aren't funny for the sole reason that they disparage an uncontrollable characteristic. Calling something gay isn't funny, only offensive. Please note, this restriction only applies to the heterosexual variety of human. Warranty exclusions. Mental health support privileges may be revoked due to user error. Seeking help can result in the user attaining the liability or burden tags in some cases. Possession of one of those tags will be used as evidence of untrustworthiness and lead to diminished social credibility. Ignored pleas for help prompting users to turn to alternative coping mechanisms will result in a ban for poor lifestyle choices. Public safety, respect, and comfort are not included within some packages. Please contact customer support to arrange for an upgrade. The contact for customer support can be found in the instruction manual you also were provided with. The escape clause may be activated at any time. Any warranty coverage will become void immediately upon activation. Expressing desire to trigger this clause will come with stigma and awkward silences. Help will not be provided in most instances. Activation will come with an outpour of public speculation, media attention, and retrospective pleas of ignorance. End user agreement. By existing in a way that provides resistance to the system, the user agrees to become a societal pushback. Thank you for continuing to follow the terms of the birth certificate agreement. We do not apologize for any inconvenience. Terms are non-negotiable and binding for life. No refunds or exchanges will be accepted.
Thank you very much. Our final reader for the day is my fellow organiser, Megan.
Nice dramatic lowering. Appreciate that. Kind of thrown in, but always appreciated. I don't really for myself. I'd rather centre Palestinian voices at this time. I'm going to read a found poem, which is devastatingly, increasingly long, as it is found from the site Queering the Map. I'm not sure if people are aware of that. I see some nods. Delightful. These are all pinned anonymously, and I have selected, awful term, from Palestine, occupied Palestine. So this is Queering the Map of Occupied Palestine. Anonymous. Dear readers, this land is called Palestine. Anonymous. IDK, how long I will live, so I just want this to be my memory here before I die. I'm not going to leave my home, come what may. My biggest regret is not kissing this one guy. He died 2 days back. We had told how much we like each other, and I was too shy to kiss last time. He died in the bombing. I think a big part of me died too, and soon I will be dead. To Jonas, I will kiss you in heaven. Anonymous, I am so lost. Anonymous, I love you. Anonymous, I was here. I was queer. Free Palestine. Anonymous, I've always imagined you and me sitting out in the sun, hand in hand. Free at last. We spoke of all the places we would go if we could, yet you are gone now. If I had known that bombs raining down on us would take you from me, I would gladly told the world how I adored you more than anything. I'm sorry I was a coward. Anonymous, I miss you, Mohammed. Anonymous, free Palestine. Anonymous, our queer Palestinian voices higher than the brutality of the occupation and higher than the oppression that our society puts on us. Anonymous, a Palestinian lesbian dreams of these streets often. Anonymous, I am trans and I am Palestinian. I will not choose between my country and my queerness, and I will not let colonizers erase one half of me so the other can be free. A last love is for all. Anonymous, this land is called Palestine. Anonymous, free Palestine. Anonymous. I'm a Palestinian queer in exile. This is supposed to be my home, as it was for my ancestors since antiquity. Instead, I exist detached from my people, ripped from my home. What did we do to deserve this? Anonymous, free Palestine. Anonymous, free Palestine. Anonymous, free Palestine. Anonymous, free Palestine. Thank you. Okay, so we have some time now for some lovely questions from all of you lovely people here. Thank you for coming. It's so nice to see so many smiling faces. And I would love to hear any questions that you have for our beautiful three readers. Perhaps we can go in order of those that read. We can start with Sol. Would anybody have a question for Sol that I can read back into the microphone so that people online can hear? Don't be shy. This is a queer space. We can circle back to Sol if anyone has a question for a particular reader. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. I'll read that just so people online can hear. Question about the general lead up to creating these works. What was the process and what was the inspiration behind them? So let's start with our lovely first reader, Sol.
Thank you for the question. And as Tristan mentioned in my intro, I normally write a wide range of stuff. It's been described as wholesome, queer, and war. So as you can tell from my poem from Israel, I normally do this as a content warning, but I have myself on the Free Palestine. Specifically with this one, I was in the process of, well, I was here for a working visa for started here, and then worked, so 10 years before I got my British citizenship, and have always had weird interaction, specifically in the last year of actually getting my passport, going through the Life in the UK test. For anyone who doesn't know, is a very silly test that and names of athletes that no one who grew up with would actually be able to answer unless you read a silly book. And when talking to the main reaction you get is surprise and annoyance and the vibe of like, I couldn't answer that. Where I don't have a choice. I didn't want to do the tests, but it's something I just have to do to be able to continue my life here. In my case, to join the Israeli army, which is something I definitely wanted to do. So it was something that was like going through my head for a good few months, and it was only after I did my test, did my ceremony, got my passport, down and actually write the poem, which was a very cathartic experience, and managed to, like, he brought back a lot of stuff from a long time and sort of tied it together.
It was really lovely hearing the queering the map answers, because every time I read those I start crying, so as soon as I heard that I was like, crying now. I think for me, poetry is such like a potent way of metabolizing like so much complex pain within yourself. I feel like if I didn't write poetry, I think I would have a lot more unprocessed stuff inside me. So I think for the first poem, I just thought about every single thing that boils me up inside, because I think as POC people, like, there's a lot of things that you have to swallow sometimes when you're in certain environments, and it's almost like those sort of microaggressions, sometimes full-on aggressions for your own safety. You have to like hold it in bottled in, and it just sort of like solidifies into like a sort of toxic goo inside you. So you have to do something to get it out. So poetry's my way of doing that, and I think so much about sort of intergenerational trauma happens in every generation as well. I think it's like that's a topic that I find really fascinating to sort of delve into. But I think for me it's been a source of joy. I came from a place where, you know, I've had to like cut off birth family, so that's why choosing family is so incredibly important. But it's also brought so much colour and joy and just like a sparkle to my life that I can't quite explain, and I really want to put that down into literature because I feel like other queer people would understand that sentiment as
Okay, so for me, I think especially with this latest work, a big part of it that's gone into it is learning how to challenge myself and sit in my own uncomfortability. Like, I spent a lot of time this month hanging out with a lot of people who've had a lot of different lived experiences, have a lot of different perspectives on things, and it's, I don't want to say nice to see, because it's not nice to see. It's been interesting to see how many different forms of prejudice we've all had to experience in our lives. So much so that we have a catch-all term for the uncomfortable kinds of prejudice. It's called bigotry. And it's just made me want to write about it, not just from my own perspective, because I've had a perspective on it. I grew up black and queer in Scotland, which isn't the greatest place to be either of those things, because you kind of have to be a representation of your race to people at times, as well as a representation of the kind of person you are. It's really fun, because stereotypes and stuff. I'm writing a collection called Socially Acceptable Prejudice, because sometimes it seems that people are just okay to treat people like their existence isn't okay, in a very cruel and unfortunate way. Jen's point was last Sunday. I was at an event and I got up on the mic and I made a little joke about how I thought it was crazy that it'd been 3 months since I'd heard anyone being racist, which shows how wild of a society we live in. 2 days later, I heard a drunk man outside of the bar we were at call the bouncer 5 times. And yeah, so kind of want me to write my own experience as a black person, as a queer person, a lot of the trans experience. Oppression is oppression, no matter what form it takes. It's just about what form we have to suffer through.
Thank you so much for that question and such incredible responses, guys. Do we have any other questions at the moment? Anyone's up? If not, I have many. I think we're all feeling the end of Fringe. That's really okay. I'm there with you. I would like to ask a question again to everyone. Are there any specific events recently that you would like to speak to, or anything happening within Fringe specifically that you would like to speak to? Because it has been a fraught time for all of us since us coming together, and it has been an especially, I would say, disappointing year in terms of BIPOC representation within the Fringe. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that as artists yourselves.
Just like to talk about who's probably getting released from prison very early, because we live in a society where you can incite people to take actions that may lead to the murder of minorities based on your own personal prejudices, and then serve, I think it was 10 months in prison. Yeah, like 10 months because it was only inciting racial hatred and nobody died, but if somebody did die, yeah. Just a bit fucked up.
I'm gonna take it to a good I would like to recommend different shows. It's for the one day you have left. There are some brilliant Palestinian artists performing this year. I would recommend Palestine Peace of Resistance. Really good allegory of Palestine, or the equivalent of Palestine through the story of Algeria. The performer is a British Palestinian man, and does brilliant storytelling as well as clowning and physical comedy, highly effective. And another one called the Balfour Reparations in Summer Hall. It kind of disguises itself as a French performer. It's really just holding space for what reparations should be happening, what the British state should be doing right now, with the POV of 20 years from now, and then inviting the audience to think of what they could be doing, we could be doing. I left that with both things that I want to do to help right now, and also some frustrations that certain audience members that didn't seem to get the point. Yeah.
Thought of something now. I haven't seen that many Fringe shows, to be honest. It's only today that I'm actually going to see any, because I've been really busy in Glasgow the whole time. But I'm just going to quickly mention that I helped to co-develop a creative fund for isolated, marginalised people between the ages of 8 and 30. We went for live for applications this week. So I would love, if there's any creatives in the audience, I would love for you guys to apply for it and get a grant. And it would be cool. So it's £500 for an artist, and then up to £2,000 if it's a collective of artists. But it can also be used towards workshops or fees to pay yourself during the project as well. It can be used in a whole multitude of ways. But I can maybe send a link to Tristan to spread it around, or it's on my Instagram as well. But yeah, that was the main thing I wanted to mention.
Thank you. I don't see any hands up, so I'm gonna go with the lovely recommendations round that Sola started, and we were kind of talking about it before the event started, and ask if any of you have a queer writer that you would love to recommend to everyone here, as we are in a bookshop, and it would be really great to support this beautiful bookshop space that we have.
I've got one. My friend started a queer South Asian book club in Glasgow, so I've been reading so many more queer authors, and there's something about having a deadline that you just fast, so you just have to get through it quicker. But Hijabi Butch Blues by Lamia H was fantastic, and I've never read a book that I saw so many mirrored experiences, and it was almost kind of scary in a way. I was like, oh my god, this is almost exactly the same life. There was obviously some minor differences, but I thought it was really interesting the way they structured the book as well. So it'd be one chapter of her life, and it was from the ages of 8 up until she was in her mid-30s, and all the experiences that they had, and interdispersed with religious stories from growing up Muslim as well, which I can definitely resonate with. Yeah.
I'll do two. So one is actually a book that you can buy. Brilliant author Alice Moffat. If you like genre, great author. She's written 2 books, Brainworms and Tell Me About It. Both really good exploration of British transphobia through horror. Should be available here. And another one whose pamphlet is sold out. I couldn't get it either. But an amazing Scottish spoken word artist called RJ Hunter. It's sold out all over Edinburgh. But if you catch her performing, she actually is really good at rage poems, and you will be very happy hearing about how trans people should be shitting all over Edinburgh in protest.
So, just my favourite queer author, it's not really any race things. Talene Buscani, she writes about her perspective through fiction, but all of our stories involve similar characters. They're all Lebanese or Armenian, and they're all lesbians. So it's all pretty similar. But her books are really cute, and they feel like a warm hug and a cup of hot chocolate when you're reading them. But also some other poets that have pamphlets and shows that you can see. Spencer Mason, the Hundred-Headed Song. 8 p.m, 8:15, Fantasy's Labyrinth. Spencer has copies of their book, utterly fantastic. Ben McPherson, whose show is finished, but catch them on Instagram, got a leaflet for their book, their poem "Oh Pause," which is just absolutely stunning. And if you see Fiona James' pamphlet, I made it happen. It's so good.
I'll also add, I think there's no show today, but Beth McDonald's Succulents, a show about eating fruit and nothing but fruit.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much, guys. And kind of as like a round off, I know we're going to be taking donations here at the door. Kids, give what you can. There's no pressure at all. But I'm wondering, how can our lovely audience and organisers support you guys with your work or anything else that you've got going on? Have you got any projects that we should be aware of?
The document project. Just follow me on Instagram, Soul Food Poetry. That's all for this stuff.
I'm doing too many side quests. So I think the main one is I've got an art stall at the moment, so there's one in October in Glasgow. I'm doing lots of lino prints. I'm selling some of it on Vinted because I can sell it for cheaper on there as well. So if you want to have a look, but on my Instagram, some poetry performances usually around Glasgow, and then the Creative Fund as well. I just want to see as many people apply. It's so exciting. I spent 6 months working on it with an amazing group of like 12, and we all come from like such like diverse backgrounds. So we've spent so much time making sure that there's no unconscious bias and really working on our definitions of like isolation, marginalization, and you can read like blurbs about every person that was involved with the decision-making process, and I think that's really new and different because with a lot of like funding organisations, it's often baseless, and then sometimes you kind of suspect people of like bias as well when you see like who they've granted funding to. But I'm going to keep my mouth a little bit quiet on that one. But yeah, I think that, and then just my Instagram as well. That's everything.
So all my performances and stuff done for this fringe, but hopefully by next year we'll have finished this collection and there will be a show. Hopefully, it will be called Socially Acceptable Prejudice. That's the only confirmed bit so far. My Instagram's at WatchJomo. Jomo's JOMMO. Yes, I thought it'd be funny to name my Instagram after a YouTube channel that I haven't watched in 7 years.
That's great. All good Instagram handles from all three. Very delighted. We are going to be taking donations now. Is it time? Yes. Wow. I rambled so much. I'm so sorry. But, without questions, I have to improvise. Thank you so much, guys. You've been incredible. And I'm very inspired. And I hope that everyone else is here too. Please support the bookshop while you are here. Please mingle. Please chat. Please support these lovely writers. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.